Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast, Inspiration Wisdom for the Sensitive Christian Women. But really, this podcast is for everyone at times because we all have emotions, we all go through things, and some of these topics are even more for, generally for the Christian woman. You don't have to be sensitive. So, welcome. My name is Carol Strang. And I started this podcast last month, and this is our second episode. Now, this one particularly is about sensitive women. But if you'd like to learn more, stay tuned, tune in, and you will learn some more about sensitivity. All right, so this particular topic is about our emotions. And I like to tell you two scenarios first. The first one I'd like to share was when my husband was dealing with our cat, our stray cat, and he happened to spill the cat food mostly on himself, and he dropped the dish. Now, what I wanted to share was he wasn't using his cognitive part of his mind. He was using his emotional part of his mind, as Julia Bjelland points out as well. So, and she was actually the highly sensitive professional that I trained under for brain training, and I took a few of her workshops too. So what she shares is very vital for us as highly sensitive women or highly sensitive people. So what happened was he had forgotten for a moment that he had placed the wet food in the dish. So not only did he have dry, but he also had wet. And in his emotional state, he threw it down and the wet food splattered on his clothes. And he told me it was because he was upset because the cat was not cooperating when he was trying to feed him. Okay, so that was one scenario where my husband was using his emotions versus his cognitive mind, because he totally had forgotten that he had a wet food in the dish. So when that dish dropped, not only would the dry food spill out, but the wet food splattered on his clothing. Okay. Another one was when we let our emotions take over is, when we get upset or we jump to terrible conclusions. And unfortunately, my husband does that often. I feel he's gotten it from his mother because she was very negative. So anyway, what happened was we heard some type of ticking or dripping in my closet. I had heard it, right? And so right away, he thought it was the leaky pipes. And I'm like, in our closet? And I couldn't really figure that out. So I went downstairs to track the noise. I am using my cognitive mind now, right? My cognitive brain. And I discovered it was a ceiling fan underneath me. So I had figured that out. But if you let your emotions, if you let the negativity just scramble around in your mind, you're going to come to possibly a wrong conclusion, jump to conclusions. So I wanted to share those two scenarios and then get into sharing a little bit about this article that I found on Sensitive Refuge. It's a blog, and it says, science confirms that emotions hit highly sensitive people harder. Okay, so basically it says, our emotions are driving powers for our lives. It says, if you feel that your emotions are deeper than other people, you feel more emotional. It says, and some of the ways it describes it is like this: your sadness is a monster that squats on your stomach and chest. Your joy is a bunch of balloons that float you to the sky. And you cry easily. Do you cry easily? Get stressed easily? Or have other people have told you to just get over it or toughen up, but you can't? More than likely, you are a highly sensitive person. So you have big feelings, deeper feelings, and intense feelings, okay? So and they point out it's not a condition, it's not a health condition like, clinical depression or borderline personality disorder. It's nothing like that. It's when you feel deeply in everyday life, both the good and the bad, okay? So they did testing. They did two kinds of tests. First, they were testing highly sensitive people and non-HSPs on negative emotions, and they discovered that, participants filled out surveys about their levels of stress, anxiety, and other negative emotions. And they determined that the HSPs were more aware of their negative feelings and experienced more of them, such as depression, anxiety, stress. I've been there, done that. And I'm sure you have too. Or maybe you're still in that state, but there is hope. Don't lose hope. Just because you may be very, very sad right now, you might be filled with a lot of stress and anxiety. Don't lose hope. So, and then the other test was about, positive emotions more intensely. We feel positive emotions more intensely, right? And there again, they tested for like all these images that aroused them, or created these intense emotions, okay? And it says the HSP brain is wired for emotion. We're wired for emotion if you're an HSP, okay? All right, now, but how can we calm down our nervous system? Is there a way to calm down our nervous system? If you heard of any, please comment below in the comments. But as I said, Julia Bjelland is one of the top HSP therapists in the world, okay? She says you'll learn to turn off those racing thoughts. Who's had racing thoughts, especially when you try to go to sleep at night? And emotional flooding, and eliminate sensory overload. I did take a workshop about sensory overload. I'll be sharing that a little bit later. Not today, but in another episode. And finally, make space for your sensitive gifts to shine. All right? So she invented the HSP toolbox. I'll put that information down there below. But I actually took the eight-week extensive brain training class, which was phenomenal. Okay? So it says, for HSPs, highly sensitive people, emotional regulation is key. Okay? It says, well, if our emotions are physiological, behavioral, and experiential responses to our evaluation, let me read that again. Well, if our emotions are the physiological, behavioral, and experiential responses to our evaluation of a situation, then emotional regulation is what we need to do about it. Okay? So here's an example. If you're frustrated, do you take a step back? If you're stressed, do you go for the walk in the sunshine? If you're angry, can you find a reason to laugh instead? These are examples of healthy emotional regulation. Okay. Now, what they point out in this article is, it might be difficult for you to do emotional regulation. Why? Because, you due to your depth of processing, our negative emotions simply stick around longer. We keep turning them over and over in our minds. Have you done that? Going down that rabbit hole where you keep, or that train, that runaway train, I call it, where you keep going over all these thoughts in your mind, especially the negativity, maybe it's something that's happened in your past, the past drama, or anything like that, or what people said about you. I know I have before. Or maybe some of us didn't even learn healthy coping strategies when we're young. And they said most parents don't know this, okay? So, so that could be part of it too. All right. And no matter the reason, if you're struggling in this area, it's not your fault. So I want you to know it's not your fault, all right? So how can we improve our emotional regulation? Okay, she has 5 tips here in the article. Number 1, we have to accept our feelings. And that is number 2 in my pillar of Serenity Women Ministry, is acceptance. We have to accept ourselves. God created us this way, for a divine reason. I was reading someone's post on a highly sensitive Christian Facebook group, and she said that she had to finally accept that there was a reason, there's a divine reason God created her this way, right? Created you this way if you're sensitive. So number 1, you want to accept your feelings. Number 2, Do not be ashamed of them. There's no guilt here. Don't be ashamed of your feelings. Number 3, believe you can cope as well as others do. So believe that. Number 4, trust that your bad feelings will not last long. And finally, number 5, assume there's hope. You can do something about your bad feelings eventually. That's the hope right there. Okay? So as I started to mention in the beginning of this episode, there is an emotional brain and a cognitive brain. Okay? And the cognitive brain is what the therapist says, Julia says, is your rational, fact-based part of us that helps control our emotions. When our emotional brain becomes too activated, our cognitive brain simply goes to sleep. So the key is to bring your cognitive brain back online. All right? And they say you can do this through language. So you have to use your cognitive brain to find the words you want to write. So they say recommended journaling for reflection, or saying it, or for what you want to write or say. And so it says, okay, so checking in with your emotions, Julia recommends as well. When you have that private time that you can say, find out, how am I doing? What do I need right now? Okay. You can ask your body, how you're doing. What do you need right now? How are my emotions right now? Am I tired? Am I hungry? Those kind of things. Just like a baby, when it cries, you can tell certain cries. This means the baby's tired. This means the baby's wet, and things like that. The baby knows. Maybe mommy may not always know, but the baby knows what it wants. Just like your body knows what it wants, but you have to train it, just like that brain training. Okay. And so it says, you'll be amazed how much better you'll start to feel when you check in on yourself. Okay. And keeping that cognitive brain awake, supporting your emotional brain. So I just wanted to share that today, talking about emotions and everything. I also wanted to let you know that I did start the Mighty Network community. It's a private community. It's an app. It's also, I believe it's on the web as well. And I have two people that just signed up. A third person's going to sign up as well. We have a great community there, just starting it, just getting involved. So feel free to join that community. I will put the link below this episode, okay? So you can join that community. Please ask questions. Please share your experiences. Please, we have 3 main categories. First and foremost, health, our emotions, our brain health, our being healthy in our body, strong bodies and everything. And then number 2, we have spiritual and fellowship and prayer and worship. And you can submit prayer requests and things like that. And then finally, third is our talents and our gifts. And we broke that down into various topics as well. So I'd love for you to be a part of this. Please share this if you know of anyone else that might be a highly sensitive person who needs that community. We need community. I was thinking today, I was getting a little depressed because I do not have any friends in this proximity where I live. And we're not going to church right now. We had some challenges with church and different things. We might be moving to a different church. We don't know yet. But, it's challenging and I don't work, so I don't get to see people at work. So I was feeling lonely. So I am so excited about this community because I know some other highly sensitive people cannot have trouble connecting with non-HSPs, especially those strong personalities. So this community is for you to connect, to share, to engage, to pray, to encourage, to ask questions, all these wonderful things that you can do, and you won't be bombarded by ads. You won't be bombarded by all these notifications that are happening like on Facebook and different groups. I don't know how many groups you're in. I'm trying to streamline my groups. I'm trying to move away from Facebook more and more and do more YouTube and get into this Mighty Network as well. And I'll be doing lives there Eventually maybe we'll upgrade, but right now it's free to join. I've made it available, free to join. So the link will be below. Please come and join with us. Please share, engage, talk, and don't worry about anything. Just be yourself, all right? And come with expectations, come with hope. And if you already have that expectations and hope, you've already been through that journey of acceptance and, awareness and acceptance and alignment, your body and soul, then please share with others, because we want to know what you're doing, and we want to know how you've accomplished what you've accomplished. And of course, we cannot do anything without God, because He is our provider. He is the way. He is the truth. He is the life. He is our power. He is our strength. He is our comforter. We can't do it without God, and a lot of highly sensitive person communities, and except for a few, do not mention God at all, and they're off drifting in other directions. So we want to stay focused on Jesus, focus our eyes on Jesus, right? Walk by faith and not by sight. And that's what you'll find also in this community. And you have a choice what you want to engage in, which categories you want to engage in, which topics do you want to engage in. So I think it's a really phenomenal opportunity for you to come and join us and be a part of this. And thank you so much. Have a beautiful day. And I'm going to try to get on the podcast twice a month. That's my goal. Okay. All right. So I might do a sequel to this, possibly talking more about brain training. I have to get into more of my notes and everything. But I hope this has been a blessing and an encouragement to you. Maybe you learned something today. And thank you again, and God bless.